Hi everyone, it's me, Tim, and today I want to talk about board games. Charlie K5964 asks, do you ever play board games? If so, what do you look for in board games you enjoy versus video games or tabletop games? That's a good question. I really haven't talked about them much, but I know people have seen them on the bookcases. So I'll start with saying I played board games a lot more when I was younger, especially when I was like a kid before I got into D&D. My brother, he's 2 years older than me. He and I used to play board games all the time when we were kids. We used to play Risk and Life and Monopoly, just, all the classics. And I was so into it that when I was 10, I actually even made a board game. It was over the summer. I think I was bored and we had a lot of construction paper and stuff. So I put together a board of the Caribbean where the Bermuda Triangle was. And every player had a ship, and you were trying to go around trade routes and pick up stuff that you could sell. And there was a chance of weird stuff happening in the Bermuda Triangle. So you had to pick cards, and weird things could happen, and it could end up with you losing some or most of your cargo, or possibly your ship, or possibly kicked out of the game. I had no sense of balance. But I did that. And what was weird about it was that was the summer I was 10. That Christmas, I got from my mom a board game called the Bermuda Triangle that had come out. And I remember thinking, wow, this is very similar. It wasn't exactly the same. This is like my game. And the first thought was like, they stole my game. Yeah, they were spying on a 10-year-old kid in Alexandria, Virginia. But later I was like, wow, I guess everybody has ideas. Lots of people have ideas. And that was the genesis of me thinking, ideas are not the important part. And I could do a whole video on that. And maybe I need to, because I see a lot of comments implying the opposite. Ideas are not that important. It's the ability to express them. Whether you're a designer writing it down, or an artist converting it into some piece of art, or a programmer making code, if you can't express your idea, it's not that worthwhile. Anyway, I digress. So I like looking at board games even today because they have really good ideas in them. I've talked about how I used to buy tabletop role-playing games and supplements for them because I like just looking through them for their ideas. I thought there was some really active, creative stuff going on in that space. Still feel that way now. People have seen Gloomhaven. I'm not picking up that box. It's huge. I did buy it. I had a lot of fun reading through the rules, looking at all the pieces, organizing all the pieces. It's a big game. I ended up playing the digital version because it was right before the pandemic. There were some people playing Gloomhaven at Obsidian, but I was busy trying to get Outer Worlds and the DLCs out, and packing and getting ready to move to Seattle. So I ended up not playing it. So once I moved up here, I got the digital version and played that. It's fun. I really like it. Lots of good ideas in it. What I've played most lately, I've played a lot of solo tabletop games because in the pandemic, I lived in Seattle where I didn't know anybody, and everything was in lockdown. So the first thing I think I bought a few months after I moved up here was Box One, which is a puzzle boxed game. Really fun. It's made by Neil Patrick Harris, which, if I can digress, it's an amazing game. And here's somebody who started acting when he was a kid. He's an amazing actor, singer. If you haven't watched Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, you should watch it. Dancer, presenter. And now he's making games. He's like, that's my thing. He's even gayer than I am. Leave a little for the rest of us, Neil. I'm kidding. Please make Box 1 too as soon as you're done with Doctor Who. Anyway, back to Box 1. It was really fun spreading it out on the coffee table and doing it. I think I did it all, most in one day, and then I finished it up the next day. Really good puzzles, things that make you think. One danger of that is I have a Labrador Retriever and she has Happy Lab Tail. And of course, she saw me sitting next to the coffee table, so she runs over and her tail sweeps everything off the coffee table. So I lost about 15 minutes trying to reassemble where I was. Happy Lab Tail, it can lead to tragedy. It should be studied. I bet you I have a lab because I am the equivalent. I get really excited about things, and I think that scares people around me. Anyway, I digress again. So, another game I played, and I did pick up this one because it's not as big. This is called One Deck Dungeon. I love this game, made by Chris Seislick. This was super fun, super fun. I bought it, played it a while on the coffee table, loved it so much, ended up buying it digitally on, I think I bought it on my phone and then ended up buying it on Steam. It is one of the few games on Steam that I've 100%ed all the achievements. And it then inspired me. I kicked open Unity and made my own game. I mentioned it once in a video I had done a long time ago when I was having insomnia and I showed off my game toys. But that was the Yahtzee sort of dice game that I made. Completely inspired by One Deck Dungeon. Different, very different, but you can see the connection between the two. And by the way, another digression, I haven't touched that game in months. It's part of the reason I like not making games professionally anymore. I have an idea now, I create it, and then I get to some point where either I'm bored with the idea. I think in that case what happened was I got to the point where it did need better art, which I couldn't do, and I get frustrated making UI. I appreciate really well done UI, but when I'm actually coding UI, it is painstakingly detailed, counting pixels and getting things lined up, and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do this. So I end up walking away from it. And you know what? I can. Doesn't disappoint anybody. I didn't have a contract. Nobody was expecting it. I played with it, and then I moved on. So that's another reason I like looking at tabletop RPGs and board games and stuff. They have really good ideas. They inspire me to think of things in that space. And I think you could get the same thing out of it. So let me talk, because I've talked a lot. I'm going to tell you, and I know I don't do this with video games, but I'm going to tell you what I like about board games and what my top 5 are. And I thought about this for a while. I realized that the thing I like the most about board games are ones that mix things up every time you play it. So you're never quite playing either with the same board or the same deck, or the way you interact with players gets mixed up. And I like if they offer, they don't have to, but if they offer collaborative play, I really love that. And so what I did is I made a list of my top 5. These are in no particular order, but because that was the hard part. I realized I was getting stuck trying to order these. These are not ordered. I think they may literally be in the order I discovered them, but they're in no order. They're just, this is what I think would be my top 5 board games. First one is Wiz War. That's by Tom Jolly. I think it's put out now by ChessX Games. What I love about Wiz War is the board is assembled when you sit down to play it. And because it's tiles of dungeons with the walls in different configurations. So every time you play it, there's a different board you walk around. It always is the same objective. You either have to get 2 treasures onto your home point, which is a square in the middle of your starting tile, or kill all the other wizards. And you can only carry 1 treasure. Once you pick up 1 treasure, you can't pick up another. So you have to pick up a treasure, go to your home tile, drop it, and then go get another one. So of course, while you're off getting it, the other wizards are probably just going to run and grab one off you. It's super fun. You get cards. All your spells are cards that you hold. There are spells. There are counter spells. There are counter spells. You can summon things. It is super fun. Wildly different every time you play it. Just as an aside, Tom Jolly made a couple other fun games. Kill Dr. Lucky is a fun one. You're trying to kill someone, but no other player can be in line of sight when you do it, because you have to do it without anyone knowing. Then he made a sequel to that game called Save Dr. Lucky, where you're all on a ship that's sinking, and Dr. Lucky's moving around, and you have to save him, but you have to save him within line of sight of at least one other player. Someone has to see you do it. You're basically doing this for the karma. So Tom Jolly makes super fun board games like that. You should try them out. We loved Wiz Wars so much when I played it. I discovered it in late grad school, so sometime in the early 90s, and then I started playing it at Interplay. We made our own cards for it. I think they're even up on the internet somewhere. The next game I love is Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter is a great game because everybody plays a different alien. And I mean different alien. There are wildly different aliens in this game, and all of them have different crazy alien powers. What makes the game so interesting is you're all basically just trying to, I think you collect enough bases or something. Although some aliens have different win conditions, and that makes the game really interesting. One of them even says that they're allowed to share a base with you, and if they're sharing bases with you, when you win, they win too. So there's a reason to be collaborative with them because they'll help you take over star systems. But if you win, they win. And also because they can mix it up and be in different star bases, they might win if either people win. There may be two people fighting and they'll win if either of them wins. Just a crazy game. I messed up one game once because I was playing... someone was playing an alien with a power that was... No, I was. I was playing the alien with the power. I think it was the Oracle. If you ask someone a question, a yes or no question, they have to answer truthfully. And I think I looked at someone and said, "Is the answer to this question no?" And they went, "Yeah." And it halted the game. I was being a jerk. But super fun game. Third game I want to talk about is Betrayal at House on the Hill. If you haven't played this one, I love it. It lets you explore a haunted house, and the rooms are picked from a set of tiles at random, so you grow a different house every time. But even better is everybody who comes in gets to pick who they want to play, and each player has slightly different abilities, like how much damage they do when they attack and how fast they move and things like that. The cool thing is, at one point in the game, at some random point, it's revealed what's going on. And one player is actually the villain or associated with the villain or something. They know a lot about what's going on. You only find out a little bit. And so immediately that means everybody else is now collaborating against that traitor, that bad guy player. I love it because it's collaborative. I love it because it's massively different every time you play it. Different house configuration, different explanation for why the house is haunted, different players with different stats, and each time a different one of them is villainous. It's just super fun. If you haven't played it, you really should play it. My number 4 game is Settlers of Catan. I know many of you have probably played this. You basically build a game board. Notice the trend to what I'm saying. You build a game board out, and then you're exploring, you're getting resources, you're building towns and roads. You can collaborate with people or not. Lots of different ways of getting points. People win when they have the most number of points. Love this game. Played it so very much. As my colorblindness got worse, though, there were 2 sets of game pieces whose colors became the same to me. And I could not play in a game if both of those colors were included. I think on my set, I may have put magic marker on one so I could tell the difference. But still, amazing game. And then my 5th game, and I haven't played this one in a long time, it's the Lord of the Rings board game. Now, there's a ton that came out. This one came out in 2000 by Reiner Knizia. I think that's his name. I loved this game. First of all, it's collaborative. You all play hobbits. It's up to 4 to 5 people can play. You're all playing hobbits. You're trying to get the ring to Mount Mordor. Or Mount Doom in Mordor. Sauron is an NPC. No one plays Sauron. Every time you do something that involves, like, the ring, like maybe you use it to go invisible or something, there's other things too. corruption increases and Sauron moves over a little bit. As you make progress in the game, your hobbit pieces move over a little bit. If Sauron ever catches up to a hobbit, that hobbit's out of the game. They stop playing. But the rule of the game is the first hobbit to reach Mount Doom wins the game for all the hobbits, even the hobbits that Sauron caught up to. So if just one person can win, everybody wins. And I love that because even though you can't play anymore, and I wish there was a mechanic where people could keep playing even if they were caught, I love that it makes it more collaborative because sometimes it made sense to sacrifice yourself to let someone else. Like there was a card once that said, if you take 2 steps back, all the other hobbits can take a step forward. Sometimes that 2 steps back would put you right into Sauron. But if you did that, the other hobbits have a much better chance of winning if they all move forward. So really good game. Really teaches people to think about being collaborative because there are distinct things you can see, advantages to being collaborative. So love that game. So those are my top 5 board games. And as you can see, I'm really a big fan of board games that don't always play the same, don't have a fixed board, don't have a fixed set of cards, don't even have a fixed set of rules. Love those kind of things. And I hope these 5 board games tell you that I really appreciate novel ways of thinking of making board games. I love, just like indie video games, the board game space has a lot of original creative thinking in it. And I appreciate it. And I hope you play some of these games and you see what I'm talking about. And also, I hope that this answered your question, Charlie K.